Alright, so turn to page 16 if you aren't already there. And the first thing is just what we went over in our warm-up. This is a rule we need to remember, is that when we have a tangent and an intersected chord, so the chord's coming from anywhere in the circle and touching it, then the rule is that the inside angle is 1/2 of the arc. So we're looking at just how these compare. And if we don't know what the arc length is, if you know the other side, you subtract from 360. So it helps you remember, I wrote a note here, just they're like inscribed angles. The vertex is on the circle. That's our rule for inscribed angles. If the vertex is on the circle, then you can, it's 1/2 of the arc. Here, the vertex is on the circle and the tangent's outside, but if it helps remember, the vertex is still there on the circle. Alright, do you remember how first lesson I told you that I wanted to make you make flashcards of all the vocab in this chapter, but I decided that I wasn't going to make you do that because you just needed to know how to use it all. You don't have to know, like, the technical definitions. This here is one chart that you need to know, like 100% know. This isn't just vocab, this is actual formulas. And so you might want to make yourself flashcards of these or at least come back and study them. So the first one we've done a whole, if the vertex lies on the circle, what's our rule? Yeah, angle is 1/2 of the arc. So just, if this is there, this is our 32.5. If the vertex lies inside the circle, this is new, I think we've maybe mentioned it last class, I haven't done notes, then the angle measure is 1/2 the sum. So if the vertex is inside the circle, the angle measure is 1/2 the sum. So first you add them up, you multiply times 1/2, or you divide by 2, and that equals the inside angle. And if the vertex is outside the circle, the angle measure is 1/2 the difference. What does difference mean? Add, subtract, divide, or subtract. And so if it's inside the circle, we add it, divide by 2. If it's outside the circle, we subtract the arcs and divide by 2. Alright, so flip over to page 17, if you're not already there. A little more vocab. This is just letting us know if the angles are outside the circle, it's 1/2 the difference, like we just looked at. And this just gives you angles outside the circle. It can be with a tangent and then one ray going through the circle. It can be with 2 tangents. It can be with 2 rays going through the circle. As long as the angle's outside the circle, you still use that 1/2 the difference. And then just our last vocab word is circumscribed. Angle is when it is, there's both sides over the tangent. So let's solve some problems now. So first of all, in problem 1, is it asking us to find an angle or an arc? Angle. So we're trying to find our angle ABC, this angle here. What do you think the easiest way to find that is? Subtract from what? 180 minus 70. 110 degrees. So remember in circles we're always looking for, are there straight lines somewhere that I can just add up to 180? And this one, remember this program had trouble with the arc symbol. The angle symbol always printed for us, the arc symbol didn't, so if there's a little box there, just draw your arc over it. So now it's asking us for arc AB. How would we find arc AB? 70 times 2. Because the rule is that it's 1/2, and that gives me 140. Is there another way we could have found it? So what would we have subtracted? So we could have recognized that this 110 and do double the angle, find this side is 220 and then subtract from 360. So there's a way to work around it. And as you found in your worksheet last class, in circles there's usually more than one way to get the answer. One way is usually fewer steps than the other, but if you're not sure what to do, just keep trying to find the straight angles, the arcs, and chords, and angles until you find what you need. Alright, this last one is asking us for arc. A, E, B. What does it mean when there's 3 letters in an arc?
It's a major arc.
Major arc. So we're going to start here and go all the way around. How do we find that one? Yeah, so 360 minus the 140 that we already found equals 220. Is there a second way? 110 times 2. Since we already know the angle, we could also do the 110 times 2 to get 220. In this case, these are both the same amount of steps. They're both really easy to math, and so it just depends what they've given you to see which one's the easiest one to find. Alright, in this one, the measure of arc AB. How do you think we're going to solve for arc AB? Do we need to do some labeling first?
Yes.
Yeah. So ADB is our major arc. Measure is 220. And then angle B equals 21. So ADB is 220. How do we find AB? So 360 minus 220. Give me 140. Alright, ACB, so it's now asking us to find this angle here. Do you think that's going to be a one-step problem? I hope so. I know. It's not going to be a one-step problem, but it's not going to be real hard. So we need to find, this is an angle outside the circle there, so there's two ways to find that angle. If we know this arc, then can we find that angle? Is the vertex on the circle, or do we still need to know both arcs and subtract them? Yeah, we're looking back. So because the angle is outside the circle, it would have to, if we're going to use the difference of arcs, we'd have to know both arcs and subtract them, even though it's a little one. So we could do that, or do we have a triangle that we could find parts to and find it that way? So we can do either way. So we can either do it off the triangle, or we can do it off the arcs. I'm going to, since this is notes, we're going to do it both ways, okay? So first of all, if this is 21, what is this arc C?
42.
Yeah, so our arc CA is 42. It's just this little part of the arc here. If this whole thing is, oh, you're right, because C is the point outside, it would be DA. If this whole thing is 220, AB we already found is 140, and so we would do our 140 minus 42, and then divide it by 2 would give us the angle ACB. So when you do that math, it should come out to 98 divided by 2, 49. Okay, so that's one way, pretty easy. The other way is just to recognize the triangle. So we have the triangle, we find angle A, angle CAB has to equal half of 220 because we're just going back in. That is on the vertex, so it's just 1/2 of the outside. The vertex is on the circle, and so that equals 110. And then we have 180 minus 110 minus 21, which also comes out to 49. So see how we can do it either way. No, either way is better. It's just which way you find to do it. So once you have that, flip over to our next page, which is our last page of notes for today. Alright, who remembers what the rule or formula is for this type of problem? Half the sum. So all I have to do is add them up. 50 plus 92, and divide it by 2 or multiply by 1/2, which means the same thing. What does that come out to? 71 degrees, because we're dealing with angles. Alright, is 7 going to be a one-step problem?
No.
No. Is it going to be hard?
No.
No. So, we know it's going to be 1/2 the sum. So, 97 plus 35 divided by 2 comes out to 66. So I found my angle in the middle, 66 degrees. What can I set up now to make an equation to solve for x? So we could recognize our 66 plus 5x plus 14 equals 180, or someone told me you could subtract the 66 at the beginning, set it up that way. And so then you just solve minus 66. 5x plus 14 equals, what's 66 minus 180?
115. Yeah.
And then subtract 14. 5x equals 100. What does x equal? 20. Alright, then moving on to question 8. What's our rule? Heard someone say half, right? So if this is 120, what is RZS?
That is 60.
60. Really easy, right? You gotta have some easy problems in there sometimes. Is 9 gonna be that simple?
No.
Is it close though?
Yes.
Yeah. What do we have to do? What's our rule for 9?
It's half the difference.
Yeah, so half the difference. So before we can find the difference, we have a missing part we need to find. How do we find the missing part?
360 minus 240.
Yeah, so 360 minus 240 equals 120. You guys will have a lot of this in your homework, just so you know, where you have to subtract from 360 to find the missing arc. So just check for that first. And now we set up our 240 minus 120 divided by 2 equals 60. See, still pretty easy, right? You just had that extra step to subtract. Alright, 10. What is our rule?
Same thing, half the difference.
So we're just going to set it up, even though there's x in there. It still is half the difference. So 4x plus 8 minus 3x plus 2 divided by 2 equals 28. Sorry, I guys couldn't do that. Alright, so what do you think the easiest first step is? You have a question? Okay, so that was a good point. Let's solve it out this way, and then we'll set that one up. See which way we think is easier. So first step, probably easiest thing if it's set up like this is multiply both sides by 2. And so then that cancels out. We don't have the divide by 2 anymore. We just have 4x plus 8. And then in the same step, I'm going to distribute my negative. This was another thing I was getting lots of questions on last class in your assignment. If the answer comes out wrong, often it's just because you forgot to distribute a negative. So watch for that. Minus 3x minus 2 equals, what's 28 times 2?
20 times 2 is
56. Then I'm going to add my like terms and get x plus 6 equals 56. Subtract 6 to get x equals 50. Alright, and then what you guys were saying was instead we're going to just set it up to add those up to equal 360. So then we have 4x plus 8 plus 3x plus 2 equals 360. And so then you have 7x plus 10 equals 360. 7x equals 350. Divided by 7, x equals 50. Which way do you think is easier? I think you're right. So there were really ones, though, that you'll have to set up this way just from the information they give you, but that is an easy way if you have enough information to set that up. Okay, and then they get one of these really fun looking, I like to call these puzzle circles, where they give you a whole bunch of lines in the circle, they give you a few different things, and you have to find missing parts. So first of all, before we even look at what they're asking us to find, let's label some easy things. If this is 81, what's this angle?
Oh, 81.
81, vertical angles, right? So sometimes on these, even before you start working on the problem, it just helps to label a few parts. If this is 30, what's this inside angle here? 15, because it's on the vertex, it's an inscribed angle. So 15. We could, no, we don't have enough to recognize that one. We could go ahead and subtract from 81. What's this inside angle here? 99. Subtract from 180. Okay, so we just labeled a few basic things that make it pretty easy. Let's see what they're asking us for now. So WVR is this angle here. Okay, we don't have the arc length here. Do we have a triangle to work with? Yeah, it is 84, whoever told me that. But let's go through the math of how to find it. So we just take the 180 minus 81 that we already labeled for a vertical angle minus the 15 that we already labeled from the inscribed angle, and that gave us the 84. Alright, the next thing they ask us for is TUW. So TUW goes from here all the way around. So we already have the 30, we already have the 70, we just have to find ray VW is all we need to find. So any ideas on how we could find ray VW? Arc VW, I said the wrong word. Arc VW, how could we find this portion right here? Do we have an inside angle? Do we have anything to help us? Yeah, we have an 81 to help us. What's our rule? Is it the same? Is it half? Or do we have to do or is it half the sum?
Is there a way you can find arc?
So it's not a central angle, it's not an inscribed angle, so we can't do just straight either half or straight the same. But what we can do is the rule is 1/2 the sum of the arcs. And so what we need to do for that is we have 70, which we know is one of the arcs, plus whatever VW is, which is what we're trying to find, is going to equal 81, equals that central angle. And so we just set up the equation this way, because this time we have the central angle, we have the 81, and we're solving for the missing arc. So first step is multiply by 2 to get 70 plus VW equals 162. Subtract 70 and VW becomes 92. That's 81 times 2. Sorry, I did not put my time signal there. So now I have 92. Is that my answer, or is there one more step? So adding it all up with the 30 and the 70 that are already there. So 92 plus 30 plus 70 is my answer. 192. And we got it.